Hello, it's still your village boy again. Welcome to the second part of preventing fraud in food related businesses. In the first episode, we have identified the areas of where the workers, even the owners, can exploit to commit fraud in food related businesses. And of course, we also identified in the first episode that there are actually some fraud that could be for the benefit of the owners, and there are those that are against the owner, which is for the benefit of the workers or in connivance with the supplier. So what controls can we put in place to prevent all this? That's what we are going to be looking at in this second part. Number one, yes, you can use suppliers to avoid the incidents of overpricing or the supply. Though this may not be completely foolproof, especially if there is a kind of connivance between the suppliers and the workers. So what can you do to prevent such a collusion from occurring? You have to have a kind of monitoring system, a kind of a control system, whereby the guy that is certifying that the total amount of supply is not the one that is receiving it. For instance, if the senior chef in the kitchen is the one that is receiving and certify that a correct amount was supplied, that could be a problem. So why the chef receive the goods, the ingredients or the raw food stuff, another person, maybe if you system that has an internal audit, should be able to confirm the amount that that was actually supplied. So there should be a kind of separation of duty between the person who is receiving the food stuff or the ingredients and the person that is confirming that the amount that is actually supplied. So that is how you can address the issue of short supply mainly. Overpricing can be addressed by doing your regular market survey. You should be able to determine how much, what is the current price of a particular foodstuff or a particular ingredient, inside in a particular market. You should be able to, determine that ahead of time. Then the second control is that you should be able to determine the average yield, for each kind of food, categories. For instance, for rice, if you buy a bag of a 50 kilogram bag of rice, what is the average yield? It's not something you will determine by just one bag, by cooking one bag of rice. It's something you will determine over a period of time, maybe a week, a month, or 2 months. So you take a reasonable average. So of course, there will always be fluctuation, in the average yield in the yield per each bag of rice. So again, one of the controls that when you are supplying such bag of rice or bag whatever, those that are back, you must have a way of weighing it, because I've seen instances in practice whereby supposedly 50 kg of rice is measured, is weighed, and we saw it turned out to be like about 45 kg. So if you don't nip this in the bud from the beginning, so calculating the average it may be a bit difficult. First, you have to measure whatever you are supplied, to determine that. There are some food stuff that may be pretty difficult to determine, especially, for instance, yam and other things, potato, you may not. So how do you determine the average yield? There could be some rule of thumb based on experience and exposure to what you have done in the past. So there's always that tiny way of finding a solution to no matter how difficult the problem is. So that will determine. And of course, if it is like maybe you are running a guest house or an hotel, then you can also match the customer request with what is issued out from the kitchen. Another person keep the record of customer requests, how many customers were supplied this sort of food, how many plates of food were they supplied to each room and all that. Then how much was recorded in the kitchen. If there is no interface between the kitchen staff and the other person will record the amount of order, if yes, they will give instruction to one another, but each of them should give their own daily summary, which somebody else should be able to compare with each other to know whether there is a gap or whether there is something that is missing. And of course, sometimes you have to also deliberately create room for, if there are allowances for kitchen staff or other staff in the establishment where they eat free, if there is that provision, it should be also, there should be a record kept for that, so that each day you can determine, okay, how many staff were at work, how many plates of food were prepared. For instance, if in a particular shift we have about 7 staff working, and you have a record of 10 staff plates of food purportedly taken by staff, then you should be able to ask questions who took the excesses between the number of staff at duty and those that were purportedly served. So good recording again is so important here. You have to pay attention to keeping good record, and again there should be record kept by different people so that you can somebody can compare it. There should be somebody checking and monitoring the record kept by A and record kept by C. So the man in the middle, so to say, permit me to use that term, who is the B person, should be able to reconcile whether there is a discrepancy between the record kept by A and the record kept by B. And out of those two records, for instance, the number of staff that were duty is take precedence over the number of plates that was purportedly served. So because you can only serve food to those who are on duty. Here in some in modern time, you can install CCTV in the kitchen. You can, so that some of this activity can be monitored and from a distance. Even you can monitor CCTV everywhere in the world with your internet. You can see what is going on right in your kitchen. So that if you travel and wherever you are in the world, you can be seen and recording the activities of what is going on in your kitchen, so that some of these unwholesome practices can be nipped in the bud. So that is one of the things you can do. Of course, they also must have a kind of good security check. There are instances where people, when they are going, workers in food related businesses, they pack raw food, raw ingredients, and put in their bag, and they just simply walk away with it. And you'll be wondering what is going on. So a good security check can prevent this from occurring. Again, there's also the danger also between the security and those and the workers. Sometimes what you do is to make sure that you check, you change the security personnel at random. You don't allow a particular security personnel to stay too long in the environment. So the more they get familiar with the workers, the more you may be creating room for possible collusion. And when there's collusion, it becomes more complicated to track or to trace. So apart from good security check, there should also be random checking. There are times you just go into the kitchen and you check some containers, because you do random stock taking and everything. There was this instances of a business that sells beers, cartons of beer, and they wish they are stake on one another. And some the employee will go to the last carton. Maybe you have a row of about 10 layers of carton. They will go into the last carton and will remove a bottle or two. So this was discovered as a result of random checking, because they know that it might take a long while before people understand what is happening to the last carton in the stake. So the random checking is always very important. Sometimes you do random checking when the worker is going on, and that is why sometimes in such establishment you have security of both genders, so that it's not a case of a man will be checking in with woman. That could create some loophole whereby the woman is protesting of right infringement. So when you have a female security checking a female worker and a male security checking a male worker, so randomly sometimes, or when coming and when going out of business, you may be able to prevent incident of fraudulent practices occurring. And for the fraud against, in favor of the owner of business, we can only appeal to their moral suasion that, okay, if you are selling, make sure that your measurement is correct, and do not encourage, if you use your staff, to commit fraud in your favor, but rest assured the same staff, the same employee will commit fraud against you. It is a matter of what goes round comes round. So be careful what you use other people to do. If you use them to do bad thing, they will also do bad thing against you. So fraud prevention is something that requires deliberate action. It's something that requires knowledge. It's something that requires some, painstakingly taking some steps to at least reduce the incidences of fraud. Fraud elimination is a very difficult task. Not that it's impossible, but the first time is like, okay, prevent it from occurring, and when it is occurring, detect it so that you know what to do. So until I come your way next time, don't forget to subscribe if you have not, share with friends, and put on the notification button rather, so that when we drop another video, you can be immediately notified.